Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not sure when you're tuning into this, but it's great to have you here. Great that you are here. Let me just get everything adjusted real quick. As you can see, we're diving into what we like to call as the Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. What we do around here, the term I coined, what the whole Win-Trapreneur concept is all about. If you don't know, you will be finding out in a couple minutes here. Just get a sip of coffee, and then we'll get this party started. All right. Good afternoon. Like I said, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you are tuning into this. Welcome back to another win. You're hearing me correctly. Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. Again, I'll be defining the term in a couple minutes here. If it's your first time tuning in, let me just introduce myself to any newcomers. My name is Aswan Crookshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole concept, this whole mindset. It's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and applying them to businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves just like the same exact way as a championship youth or high school football team. That is what we do around here in the Move Swiftly world. We are big on straight up employee development, all things employee development. All right. And before I get started on today's topic, which we will be discussing mentally adjusting. All right. All week, we've been diving deep into what it means to what it means to actually make a mental adjustment. And what are mental adjustments? How do you have to learn? How exactly do you incorporate mentally adjusting in your own life? Because when problems come up, when issues come up, when things happen in life, you have to have the ability to mentally adjust. You're not going to be able to just avoid problems. You're not going to be able to avoid life happening, stuff coming up that you weren't necessarily prepared for, but you were able to mentally adjust so you can still be on track and get whatever goal or get whatever thing that you wanted in the long term. All right. So we're going to be talking about how to do that in real time. I'm going to be using some examples from my life because I always tell you guys every single Wednesday, I am the ultimate Win-Trapreneur. There's a reason I'm the one that coined the term. There's a reason that you can Google the word Win-Trapreneur right now, and you're going to just see one person, one individual on the internet that's using the term Win-Trapreneur, and it's your one and only. It's yours truly. All right. You're going to see why, because every Wednesday, again, there are times in which I will feature some people. There are times in which I'll just kind of tell you guys a situation, but the majority of the Win-Trapreneur Wednesdays are coming from literally life happening to me, things happening in my own life that I had to adjust to. So I'll be discussing that today. Before I get started, though, let me just make sure I get through a couple of announcements. Take a sip of water. All right, before I get started, let me get through a couple of announcements, and then we will go from there. First things first, you might have saw it if you were here at the beginning. I had it on the screen. First things first, 3 business owners, like I mentioned, here to serve you, here to work with you guys in employee development, here to make it so you no longer have that problem of constantly hiring, firing, outsourcing this one, doing this, dealing with this complaint, dealing with this, just your lack of professional employee development, all those things that are going on in your organization right now. I am here to solve that problem for you all. Simply go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I create a very easy to understand 10-step process that you could utilize right now to get the ball rolling in your business. It's a very, very simple formula that we work from here. It's establishing measurables plus that professional distance equaling a productive environment. There's no other blueprint. You need those mixes. You need to have the mix of the measurables and the professional distance, and then the environment in which you create in your workplace. That's when it's going to become productive. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Now, I am a firm believer that the greatest example of how to do this is through college football. All right. College football provides such an incredible example on how to operate as a business owner. And I'm happy. I'm so blessed to announce the live college football show as we are approaching college football season. It's just steadily but sure. It's coming sooner than later, right? It's here basically. I'm going to be doing a live college football show out here in West Palm Beach in the North Palm Beach Duffy's. You see the address right there on your screen. Just simply sign up to the weekly scenario. It's just talking college football, breaking down certain things that are going to be coming up during the week. Week by week, you're going to see college coaches happen to make adjustments. Same way you're going to have to be making adjustments in your business and what you're going to do with certain staff members, how you're going to divvy up the money, how you're going to call this one when people go down, when someone's not available. All the adjustments and the things that happen in the college football world, I'll be there building that bridge between your business owner and the college football world. Join the weekly scenario. All right. Stay engaged in that conversation. It's funny because I did a setup this past Sunday for the Dolphins game, and there were people who signed up, but they were like, look, I'll sign up for it, but I don't want to do any public speaking. I don't want to be the one speaking on camera, which is totally fine. That's my role. That's what I'll do. But if you want to stay engaged, you want to, watch the game and learn some things from the game, go to weeklyscenario.makeyourmove.com or go to film. Actually, let me put it up here real quick. Go to Film Session Saturday on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to make sure you subscribe to Film Session. Subscribe to Film Session Saturday. Where is it? That's this website. Yeah, let me just put it up here real quick. Subscribe to there we go. Yeah. So subscribe to Film Session Saturday, where I've been breaking down college football games since the final game of last year, when I was like, look, man, I need to get more of it. I can't live without it. I need to be looking at it more often. So make sure you subscribe to that and you'll get more information. Finally, if you are some of my favorite people to work with in the business world, the folks that are saying, look, bump all that free stuff, and I want you to tell me exactly who I need to pay, how I need to pay, and I'm ready to make a purchase right now. We love you guys. We love you folks around here. Go to makeyourmove.com. That is makeyourmove.com. You could shop. You could purchase the books. You can purchase an employee development workshop. You could book a meeting with me to figure out what the best payment plans are for all of that stuff. Just go to Innovative Teamwork or do your research on me on Move Swiftly Speaker. Everything is there for you to do whatever research you need to do on me on makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. All right, let's get into today's article. Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, mentally adjusting in real time. All right, in real time. There's a reason, and a very, very strategic, very intentional reason why I decided to title it Real Time. All right, real time, because this shit happens within the blink of an eye, where something comes up and you have to be ready. You have to be ready to adjust to the moments in terms of what you're used to. Now, this is challenging. It's a lot more challenging. It's a lot more easier said than done, because there's a mentality that you already have gotten used to as a kid that you have really no control over, in terms of how you were raised, in terms of what got brought to you as a kid, or what you learned, what these situations were as a as it pertains to the environment that you grew up in and all that kind of stuff. You really don't have much control over that. So you develop your own concept, you develop your own personality, you develop your own ways of reacting to certain problems. And you have to really know how to adjust mentally when stuff comes at you and it breaches that comfort zone. So the reason you see the image there of the article, if you're looking at this on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you see that image is because you see a kid right there. I was a high school junior at that point, and I didn't losing stuff, man. Losing football games was not me. Losing football games was not me. And we're going to get into it as I touch on the article. But my first year as a high school football coach, the team I coached, we went 0-10. And not only, actually, even before that, when I was in college, I played for 2 college programs, and they weren't necessarily winning every game. Now, the first program I played for, Carson Newman College, we won pretty much. It was a regular winning program, as a D2 school. However, I was a redshirt freshman there, and I was trying to get out of there, and really didn't feel like I was a part of the team per se, because as a redshirt freshman, you're not even suiting up on game days. You're pretty much just practicing. Yes, you're technically a part of the team, but you kind of are not really there with the team, the guys that are traveling and the guys that are actually suiting up on game days and stuff like that. But when I got to Stony Brook, it was somewhat of a losing culture. We lost our first game, went 0-2 the first year I was there, lost to Hofstra, lost to Colgate. So we went 0-2 to start. We lost to, I believe it was Charleston Southern, beat us as well in the Big South. The losing wasn't, I had to mentally adjust too, even though, again, I was more the scout team player. I wasn't one of those guys that was, starting and all that kind of stuff. But there was a mental adjustment that I needed to make after leaving high school, because the 2 programs that I played for, whether it was high school or youth, these were winning programs. We won multiple championships, and I'm gonna get into the stats in a second. But there's no team that I played from 6th through 12th grade, or even if you want to go back further, from 5th all the way, fifth grade, from 5th grade all the way to 12th grade. There's no team that I played that I lost to personally that I didn't experience either beating before or after. So, again, the losing stuff was something I had to mentally adjust to, and I had to figure out, what does wins and losses mean? Do wins mean what happens in the scoreboard, or how do you literally look at certain things as wins and losses? All of that stuff I had to mentally adjust to, and I had to figure out how to do it in real time, because when you lose and it happens, it just happens. All right. So all that being said, let's get into the article so we can develop some more context into this. Let me get some coffee. Man. All right, let's do it. All right, Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, mentally adjusting in real time. Before we go any further, let's clarify. All right, so this is my first time. For my first-time listeners, for first-time people who are new to this channel, first of all, be sure you subscribe, like, comment. You could actually join. There's a membership open for you now. If you want to get a work venting session in with me, be it private or public, you can join this channel and we'll schedule a work venting session. I just added that, but we're here every single day doing something. There's something happening on this channel every single day, something that's going to lead to more professional development, going to lead to you becoming more valuable in your place of business, in your workplace, in terms of what it is you do, whatever your goal is. This channel is all about developing personal and professional development. All right. So let me clarify the title. So what is a Win-Trapreneur? A person with a strong entrepreneurial vision for their life, who's had the good fortune of finding a job that pays them every 2 weeks and aligns with that vision. It is a term I coined to capture a very specific kind of mindset, a mindset that sees employment not as a trap, but as a tool, a platform, a means to scale purpose while still playing the long game. Now that we've got that out the way, let's get into the real. All right. The real-time mental adjustment. Here I am, once again, using myself as a case study for the real world entrepreneurship, because the truth is there's no better person to illustrate how mental adjustment and entrepreneurship are tied at the hip. Both are built on the same thing, mindset. And if I'm going to talk mindset, then let's look at the game that gave me mine, American football. From dominating the field to reframing the win. All right, here it is. This is important now, because actually I'll read it and then I'll react to it. So my peak as a football player stretched from the 6th grade all the way through the 12th grade. All right, a crucial stretch in life development. In that time, I went from a kid just leaving elementary school to a young man preparing for college. I played for elite programs. I was a team captain, and I lost very few games. To prove I'm not blowing smoke, here are the only teams I've ever lost to in that time. SYA Wildcats, we beat them early in the season, but they got us in the championship after 2 of our star players missed weight. All right, let me break that one down for a second, because that one still pisses me off to this day. So this was 6th grade. And for those of you, again, who don't know, I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. It's kind of the outskirts, kind of the suburbs of Washington, D.C. So the reason they call it the DMV is because they're referring to D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, mostly Northern Virginia part. All right. Now, when it comes to when it comes to being in that particular area, there you're kind of in the middle of things, right? You're in the middle of playing teams in the DC area, and then also you can play teams in the Northern Virginia area. There's Baltimore area. There's a lot of you're kind of centrally located, right? So the team, the SYA Wildcats, this was a team that was competing in the Northern Virginia area, and they would be the Redskins. Their team facility was in Ashburn, Virginia, right there in Northern Virginia. So that Northern Virginia area, they got a lot of that Redskins money. They got a lot of those Redskins resources from that team and stuff like that. So we went to Northern Virginia, and we played at so the Redskins, they had this turf field, like this turf practice field. So we played the SYA Wildcats. That was the first scrimmage of the season, where we played them, and we tapped all up in that. We were at full strength, and we tapped all up in that ass. And it was kind of ironic that we went through a whole season undefeated, and then we get to the Super Bowl. We get to the whole Super Bowl. So we won the county championship, but then we got to the Super Bowl where it was, DC. We beat teams from DC and Northern Virginia, and then it just so happened that SYA Wildcats, the same team that we played at the beginning, we got a chance to play them for the actual Super Bowl. So here it was. When it drives me crazy to this day, it's because our coaches, and I might have spoken about this. I usually bring it up every football season because it always triggers me. But as we were going through the playoffs, we had to weigh in before every game. At this point, some of our players were kind of cutting it close. I wasn't one of those players that was cutting it close, but our coaches would take those players to the sauna the night before, and they would weigh them in the night. They would weigh them the night before the game, and they would have to weigh in before practice. So it was ironic that we get to the Super Bowl and 2 of these players actually missed weight. They missed weight. They were too heavy, and they didn't let them play the game. It was such a hard. Let me tell you, the reason that I'm still to this day such a diehard Michigan fan, because that game, that night taught me the most. It taught me the most about what life is all about. All right. I was on top of the world, man. Team's undefeated. I'm a captain on the team. Grades straight A's. I have straight A's in school, and it's like I was on top of the world. And then for one night, we were about to cap it off with an undefeated season and win the Super Bowl. And this was back when I played for the White Oak Warriors. So this was back when we were wearing the Michigan, the Michigan colors and all that, the helmets, the wing helmets, everything was Michigan, right? And for us to get there, all the way there, and to know 2 of our players missed weight, and then to lose the game by 3 points, 18-15. We lost the game by 3 points. It still stings to this day. However, the experience that I had beating them before, knowing, I could still hear Coach Mike in my ear right now telling me, hey, if we would have had our guys, we would have beat them. We beat them really handily. It would have been an easy win. It would have been a blowout. And it was funny because I worked at a gym named D1 Nova. It's in Chantilly, Virginia. I remember seeing that same coach. He was still coaching the SYA Wildcats, and he brought the SYA Wildcats to that D1 facility. And I told him about that game. I told him, this is when I'm like an adult at this point. I told him about that game, and he remembered me on the spot. He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember that day." And he goes, "It wouldn't have happened had you guys not missed weight, or had your players, or those 2-star players, not missed weight." So that one, there's a reason that one's on the beginning of the list. That one stinks. That one still stinks to this day, man. It stings to this day. I see the wing helmets now, and that's why you see it right there. I say bullshit. All right. So Olney Bears, we lost to them one year, and then we beat them the next, and then they joined us. So like some of the star players from the Olney Bears, they joined us when we moved to Pop Warner. Northwood Rams, again, a team that used to dominate. They dominated Maryland when they dominated the whole Maryland Football Association when before we got to Pop Warner. So Pop Warner was like the major youth football league, and Northwood Rams would win every single year. They were in that like hood part of Baltimore. I experienced wins with them at the beginning, but my last season with the White Oak Warriors, we lost to them twice by one touchdown. One touchdown we lost to them by. The next year, the Warriors, but the team I was on, I had gone on to high school, but the next year they beat them. When I got to high school, all right, so this is where things got a little dicey, because my JV year, I go undefeated. But when I get to my junior year, we lost 2 games that we had no bit. Well, the first one, the Northwood Rams, not the Northwood Rams, but the Robinson Rams. So the Robinson Rams, they were they were, again, one of those big time teams in Northern Virginia. And just so we're clear, Northern Virginia got some dogs. All right. Northern Virginia is known for the football, the football prowess. It was the same place that, remember, the Titans, TC Williams. There's a lot of dogs. All right. A lot of grown men in the Northern Virginia. I know, again, Maryland doesn't get a lot of love in the football world, but Northern Virginia, Percy Harvin type cats. I mean, listen, man, Mike Vick, they got some grown men. They got some grown men in that Northern Iverson, another one, like Virginia, in terms of Virginia football in Virginia. Yes, football Virginia. So whenever we were getting a lot of buzz as good counsel, those Northern Virginia teams, they really weren't liking that. So Robinson was one of those teams that wanted to play us. They wanted to play us really bad. So we had a 2-year contract. We had a 2-year contract where they played us at good counsel. They came in, tapped our ass in during my junior year. But my senior year, we went to Robinson that Friday night and we got a win that still, I believe it's still, I don't know, I might have it. But the game is actually still on YouTube to this day. I'm gonna look it up real quick for you guys. Let me look it up for you guys real quick. Let's see, good. Yep, it's right here. The game is right here. Good counsel versus Robinson back in 2006. It's right here for you to see. I think if we go to the end, you'll see us. Yeah, you'll see us. Look at the celebration. Yeah, this is it. This was the last. I'll skip to the end for you guys. So we won literally on the final drive. We won on the final drive. It's coming. Look at this. Yeah, this is the celebration. Hold on. Let me show it to you. Let me just get to the final drive real quick. If I could get there, jeez. All right. I'm going to try to skim through this. All right, so watch our sideline. Yeah, this is the pass. There it is. He catches it. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy night in Northern Virginia, man. And hey, we scattered away with the win. So that was the payback. And then Georgetown Prep, my junior again, we had no business losing that. We got up in that ass the next year. My senior, we beat them by like 55 points. It was a really, really rewarding game. And then, of course, you get the all-time rivalry, the best rivalry in high school football, which is the Math versus Good Counsel. My JV year, I went undefeated, so we beat them And then, just never cracked them on the varsity level, literally losing by 1 point. Again, long story short, well, let me read through it. One out of those games, those were the only losses. And honestly, that last one against the Math, like I said, it still stings. All that winning, and I still think more about not beating them on varsity than all the victories combined. All right. Addressing that, making sure I want to make sure I address that. Understand, I'm explaining this to you because winning became part of the culture. Winning became the norm. There were certain games that we would play, and it would be just the expectation to win. There was no, oh my God, we won a game. Like my mindset when you hear the word winning, one of the reasons I coined the term Win-Trapreneur, winning became the fabric. Winning became something that we do. Winning was not something that was, oh man, we're just so, no. Winning was actually the thing that is just like brushing your teeth every morning, the tying your shoe. Winning became the standard. Winning on the scoreboard became the standard in regards, and I was blessed. I was fortunate to be a part of these programs in which winning was just again, part of what we do around here. Now, when winning means showing up, then came college, and I had to make a major mental adjustment. This is where we're getting into kind of the lesson here to where understand where my mind was and then the mental adjustment I needed to make in terms of what other programs and what other things were like, the real world, quote unquote, right? When you start facing major challenges, right? Then came college, and I had to make my first mental adjustment. I tore my ACL my freshman year. It was devastating. I had this dream of transferring to a Division I program, and now I had to sit out and rehab. But I stayed the course. I worked at a gym, rehabbed my knee, and eventually transferred to Stony Brook University, where I made the travel squad a major accomplishment in its own right. That's a win. That's a win. Not because I was scoring touchdowns, not because there were cameras or crowds, but because I was still in the game, still showing up, still moving swiftly. The definition, that shift in definition from scoreboard dominance to daily persistence was a mental adjustment that shaped everything else. All right. So the main point in that, the main thing in that was, all right, look, 18 years old, and there's a winning culture already in my mind. There's a winning way. There's a way of understanding, hey, the guy comes from a winning program. However, immediately ACL gets torn. I'm not able to play anymore. I got to go figure things out. There has to be this now. There had to be this mentality where I had to adjust in real time if I was going to actually make something happen. All right. So here it is. Coaching through losses and finding real wins. After college, this was after college, after I explained that. And I've done, full biography kind of episodes of like introduction. Just look up As One Bio, where I explain all of this in detail, and everything kind of in detail is all out there for you to consume at your leisure and whenever you have the time. But coaching through loss and finding real ones. So after college, I went into coaching. 2 seasons as a high school football coach, and in the first season, we went 0-10. That's right, winless. That is the record. Technically, yes, we won 2 games, but those 2 games, here's what happened during those 2 games. One of the players actually showed up to school late, so we had to forfeit the games. We had to forfeit the 2 of all of the things that were going on. It was a brand new coaching staff. I was part of a brand new coaching staff. Shout out to Coach Anderson. The 2 wins that we got that year, one of the players shows up late, and they found out after. We win the games. All right. Find out after we win the games. And then what happens was, we have to forfeit the wins because, it's school rules that if a kid is tardy during the day of a game, then we have to forfeit the win. So that's right. Winless, completely winless. 0-10. All right. 0-10. And yet I remember one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in my life. Our head coach, again, shout out to Coach Anderson, addressing the team, said he was addressing the team, but he was mostly talking to, this was the players weren't there. When I say team, I mean like the team of coaches that he had. It was just us as coaches. It was the coaches meeting, the first coaches meeting that we had. So the boys didn't hear this part. So, I know a lot of them still follow me even to this day. So I'm going to break it down for them now. he said, and this was, again, Coach Anderson talking to the coaches, he said, most of these boys are growing up in broken homes. And some of them, we as coaches are the only positive male role models they'll see all day. That hit me in the chest. That was a win. All right. That is what you can't mentally adjust unless you're willing to reframe the purpose. You can't be a Win-Trapreneur unless you learn to see victory in showing up, not just standing out. So here's what I mean as I translate that for you guys. All right. Me coming from the winning programs that I came from, like winning on the scoreboard. All right. I had to figure out a way to adjust that mentality when I got into coaching, because when I coached at Blake, it's a losing culture. At least I know they're doing some good things now, but when I got there, it was a losing culture. And most of the players who were playing for Blake, they were coming from broken homes. We as coaches were the only positives, like I just said, we were the only positive male role models that they would see throughout their entire day. Throughout the entire day, we were the only positive male role models that they'd see. And even though we went 0-10, showed up to every practice, I showed up to every game, I was there, being a part of the program and just having that presence in their life. That was a win that I wasn't even fully aware of until years later, even now, right? As I'm starting to accept and see how important fatherhood is, how important it is to have a man in the home, how important it is to make sure you're doing what you have to do as a man to develop, to be present, to be there in your kid's life. I'm not talking about Zoom and virtual or just sending money. I'm talking about a presence to the point where the kid sees a male role model in the home and they go out with some structure, they go out with some discipline, they go out and they understand what it means to be confident, what it means to put in the work, what it means to have a work ethic, what it means to actually develop, be willing to develop, to be willing to learn, to be willing to be the person that, hey, makes sacrifices for the betterment of a fucking team. Those are the things that are wins, because you're seeing, I was seeing how it went deeper than just winning or beating DeMatha, right? It went deeper than just getting your payback on Robinson. It went deeper than, the little mess up with the SY Wildcats. It went deeper than just what happened on the scoreboard, what the end of the score indicated. The wins was more than that. Wins was actually being able to show up, show out, and get better. That's what it's all about. That was the big thing for me. So I'm telling you right now, I've said it on multiple occasions. That 0-10 season, I will take that 0-10 season all day, every day. Probably one of my favorite seasons of football, period, because of what we were able to accomplish, whether it was myself, Coach Anderson, and Coach Harris. It was literally just three of us showing up every single day for those boys. And me being I was the young coach during that. I was 26 at the time. Being the young coach, just getting my feet wet in the industry at the time, coming from the community. Again, I grew up right there in Silver Spring, Maryland. So it was great to see. It was great to get that balance. My high school, my alma mater, Good Counsel, was literally a couple miles down the road. And to know the difference between, hey, there's a winning culture here that wins on the scoreboard, but there's also opportunity for me to go establish my own name in this business and figure out what it is I want to do without using what I already accomplished in high school or whatever my high school was about. No, I never wanted it like that. I personally wanted to figure out how to make my own name without having to use the name Good Counsel, without having to use what we were able to accomplish. That was in the past. Did that, done. All right. Now let's figure out how we're going to navigate our way through the adulthood. That's what it was all about. That's why I'm to this day super appreciative of that opportunity. All right. So as we get into the final word, mental adjustments is not about just calming your emotions or dealing with hardship. It's about clarity. It's about knowing what really matters. It's about defining the win. Get this a little better. It's about defining the win for your life, not someone else's scoreboard. So here's the challenge this week. Where do you need to mentally adjust in real time? Not next month, not when the timing's perfect, because there's no perfect timing. Now you have to mentally adjust now, because you don't know what's going to happen. That's how you win. That's how you lead, and that's how you move. All right. So again, all week. We've been discussing it. Tomorrow, we'll do a recap episode on everything we've discussed in terms of mental adjustments. And I literally just before I started this, I was getting the articles ready for next week, and we're going to be kind of moving in the same direction in terms of confidence, because we're going to be breaking down the words, breaking down what confidence is all about. So that's going to be next week. Tomorrow, we'll do a recap episode, though. And then Friday, it's Faith-Based Friday. Tune in for Film Session Saturday over on the other channel. Make sure you like and comment, subscribe to that channel. Then we got possibly Stay Hired Sunday, because I'll be in Maryland and I'm not sure if I'm going to have much control over my schedule when I'm there. But all that being said, again, if you're interested in hearing more and developing more, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything, it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. Ugh.